Welcome to the Push to Shop podcast, episode 420. This is the Weed Number podcast, episode 420. Hold on, let's check this actually. Oh, fuck! There goes my plans for the next hour. Skippy, how you been? We are live. Nothing. Fuck you. It was a bit. Tell me about your time alive on this earth. You'll have to remind me what this is. What is the topical bit? Wait. I don't remember what this was. We did the bully. I feel like I'm being bullied. I'm gonna call a bully hunter right now. Can we, like, is there a YouTube plugin? Can we, summon bully hunter? Like, bully hunter, please. Okay. So, guys, welcome to our show. I want to talk about this piece of shit video game that is just sucking the life out of me and I think everyone else on the planet at this point. I've been playing some more Fortnite, and you know, I'm not playing super, not really, but you know, it's now like, I used to like sit down and play CSGO when I had some time to just fuck around and play a game, and now I do that with Fortnite, and I'm sure many other people do that. It's the most popular game in the world, but it's the difference, and I feel it. So the difference, and I can feel it right away, is I feel like I'm wasting my time playing Fortnite. Like, there's not that element of I'm learning this, I'm trying to improve a particular skill here, I'm going to make sure I do better communicating this next time. There's really not any meat to the game, so yeah. Yeah. It just is just fun bullying generally. It's really fun to bully. Yeah. Well, what's more fun is a game that also just lets you fuck around, but has some of that early Xbox Live Days spirit, you might say. And I've been enjoying a different free game quite a bit more than Fortnite. Have you been playing Halo Online? The new El Dorito update? They just, yeah, you really should. It's now exactly what you would want out of a Halo 3 PC. It kind of was janky before. Well, I see your levels reflecting on my fucking, on my thing. Let me... I'm gonna listen. I think they just say you're quiet. Or it's not... Wait, they're saying they can't hear you, but I think you're just quiet. Fuck, hold on. I'm gonna try to fix this. I'll keep talking while I do. I'm sorry, guys. I did test the fucking desktop audio. I don't know what to say. I tested this. Can someone tell me if Skippy's good right now? This is so fucking frustrating, man. Like, I don't know what to say. I did test this. I tested the desktop audio. Fucking Lord.
Really close to my microphone.
Maybe. Let's... I don't really want to continue talking about stuff until we...
and so I scooted it closer.
Let's sort this out. Keep talking so that people can... We'll just kind of
just
press pause on the
just
show
doing a
bit for now.
podcast, just talking about podcast things here.
Okay, it's good now. Perfect.
Okay. I can kind of hear myself on the echo from a few minutes ago.
Yeah, but I think that's what's coming through my own headphones. It's not, like, good.
All right,
but it's good now. Okay, so sorry about that. What I'm going to do is re-download this, cut that part out, re-upload.
It's fine now.
Yes.
So
we're talking about Halo.
That's why podcast's so endearing. That's why everyone tunes in. That's why it's so popular.
I hate it, man. This fucking program. It's great when it works. But, Halo Online. I keep getting sidetracked. The thing holding it back before was that it was janky, much like our shows, and barely worked. The server browser was god-awful. Like, matchmaking was terrible. And not that there really was matchmaking. But this most recent version, it added a bunch of content to the game. It also made the server browser way better, to the point you can actually use it. And
what is it exactly?
It is a Russian...
It's not a Microsoft product.
So there was a Russian free-to-play game. I'm actually not sure if it was free-to-play, but it was online. Released in the Russian market. It was a port of Halo 3. It was a port of Halo 3 to PC. Pretty sure it was multiplayer only. Didn't have Forge. But it had like the core Halo 3 engine. Then modders created a fork of it called El Dorito, where they heavily modified it, and they put certain things in the game, and then they sort of Americanized it and made it playable. They continued to develop that project, and so now the El Dorito that you can play, it's got Forge, it's got custom game modes, it's got all kinds of shit that wasn't in that Russian game. This is sort of like a mod that's only possible thanks to this kind of shoddy Russian product.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's awesome. Like, you can go on launch it up. The servers still work perfectly. They're fast. The netcode is very good. Probably because it's Microsoft's, but whatever. And you can find like all kinds of custom games, like Fat Kid or weird infection modes. Just all the good shit from the Halo 3 days. That's exactly what you get in here. And of course you can play ranked or Slayer if you want. But
I had literally like 10 people in my Discord setting up a game and stuff, and they kept wanting me to play, and I was like, I don't play video games.
It's really fun.
Sorry.
It's really fun.
But I need to check that out at some point. I just can't get around to it.
Part of what makes it so fun is also the fact that it is the Wild West. It is completely unmoderated. And so it's like the early Xbox Live days where there was nothing anybody could do. It's difficult. I don't even think... it's difficult to mute people. It might be possible. I'm pretty sure it's possible, but I haven't bothered to do it to anyone yet. Just because I didn't want to go out of my way looking for it. So there's lots of people screaming. Lots of people screaming the N-word. Lots of that.
Sweet.
Very cool stuff all around. But it is cool that because there's no online games like that anymore. Online games now are so tightly moderated, and they, if not kind of actively rail against toxicity in gaming, they'll at the very least try to encourage like this positive player-friendly attitude. But there is no, it's like a black box. It's a weird kind of online game. They were sort of forced to halt development on it completely for obvious reasons, because this latest release exploded, and then Microsoft and 343 had to address it. But despite being forced to stop, it all still works fine. So you just find a download of it, which is very easy to do, and you install it, run, no problems. It's a good game. I recommend people try it out. It's free.
That's pretty neat. Free for
Free.
illicit reasons.
Yes.
That's cool though. I feel like the last one of those kinds of games that I ever played, where it was just like you join a server and not necessarily everyone spamming into the microphone or anything, but it felt like a classic like multiplayer game was, and this really represents a change of multiplayer, like the era that it changed, because Tribes Ascend in its infancy was amazing, and you just jump in and it felt like this, like nobody actually really cared about, there were no like, there might have been stats, like there might have been a screen where you can see your stats, but I don't think anyone really cared, or they didn't work, or I don't remember ever looking at them. I don't think there was any kind of ranking system or anything like that. You just jump in and you play like capture the flag with a dozen other people, and that was really fun. And then they slowly, well, actually pretty rapidly, just murdered that multiplayer, and in all the ways that you can murder modern multiplayer games, like pay to win and all that kind of shit. And ever since then, not necessarily pay to win like killing multiplayer games, but it's like Overwatch, for example. You have this like, I guess a lot of people played casual game mode in Overwatch, but I would play the ranked, and it was like, it feels so much like a competition, and that you're just kind of trying to get to the next rank, at least for me, that it kind of ruins the fun in a game like that, where the game doesn't really feel like it was built for that kind of competitive play. It's really just built for you to jump in and have fun with. So maybe I should have played casual, but when the ranked is there, I have to do it. I kind of miss that era of just hop in and see what the fuck everyone's doing on this random server, especially with a game like that's very moddable, or not so much moddable, I guess, in this case, but you get all those weird game modes and people doing weird shit, and you never know what you're going to get when you join a server. I really like that. I really like just the mystery of jumping in, like the old Gmod days, where you just find a server and you're
Yes.
like, what's going on in here?
GM
It's always some weird
construct, and then
shit.
you'll join it, and there'll be this massive like tower built out of gnomes, or
And that stuff does still exist. Like there's some games that still do stuff like that, but like, I guess the unique thing about this one in particular right now is the popularity of it. Really,
yeah.
it's just like you feel like there's a little bit of a cultural, thing going on that you could be a part of.
Yeah,
But
the
somehow
servers
I
are
just
very full.
neglected to join.
They're full enough that if you find an empty one and you join it, you'll have 3 or 4 people joining you in a few minutes. Like,
Yeah.
it's a nice active game. The name for it, for people watching and maybe yourself, is El Dorito. It's Dorito as in Mountain Dew, and Doritos. Dorito.
A fitting name.
Very fitting.
Calling back to that era once again.
That kind of was that era. That's when that
Definitely.
stuff
That's where
really
like
started.
that's where that stuff. I think the famous image of
That
of,
was that Halo 4?
Jeff
or
Keighley
Reach?
in his Dorito and Mountain Dew shrine is Halo 3 in particular. I think is.
I thought it was like Reach or something, but might have been 3.
It might have been Reach, but Reach was just after 3. like
Yeah.
very soon after 3. So it was that, and they were already doing that for a while at that point. So, yeah, it's that era. It's pretty nostalgic now.
I've got a
Fucking old.
question for you, Skip.
What?
Where is my wife's son? I've been playing God of War.
How is it? Is it everything that game journalism says that it is?
It's not really. I mean, there's nothing really all that wrong with it, but it kind of is like a worse Last of Us for me in
Really?
story presentation, sentence level, and sort of like story level writing. It's weaker in those regards, and it places a heavy emphasis on the story, so you kind of have to talk about that because it's so much of the time.
Yeah.
There's just the combat's fun. I enjoy it. I think the camera's way too close behind you. I hate that. I think that's the
It annoys me
dumbest.
too.
I think it sucks actually. Like that's
Gears of War started that.
that's the worst feature of this combat system is very simply how close the camera is. Because the most important element of combat in the new God of War is probably crowd control. You're always going up against like 10 other guys. They're coming from every direction. And
There's
you
actually
need
a
ways to
warning
deal
on
with
your
them.
screen, right? If like you're being attacked from a direction off camera.
Yes.
Isn't there like a warning?
There
on
is,
screen?
but it's just it becomes so much to keep track of for a bad reason. Like it becomes so much to keep track of because you're having to manage different sorts of incoming information. Like you're not just looking at where the enemies are and what attack animations they're using. You're also looking for these blips on your screen, which is really all you can see because the camera is right up, like perched on your shoulder. That works for like The Last of Us, when you're just sort of standing close to the character, staying close to their perspective, and where the primary mechanic is shooting, for one. Here, you kind of want to be what's behind me, swinging all around. Like, the original God of War, I didn't really play them, only for a little bit, but if you look at them, you see the whole room, and you see every enemy in the room. I think that would have been a good decision. But
Yeah.
I think worse than that is how obvious it is, like, how often it will take control away from you, or like slow your character's walking speed so you can look at something, or even just for someone to say something, or for no goddamn reason at all, which is all I could assume for one bit, where you're taking an elevator, and the elevator's kind of like spacious, and for some reason it decided you could only walk so fast on this elevator. Like, it reduced the walking speed just
Well,
for
there's
this.
nowhere to go, right?
Well, there's nowhere to go, but I mean, why do that? And it's also always like, you know, you'll be walking across a bridge and the camera will swoosh over here and then swoosh back here, and this is the legend of the gods, what they said in the tales, and the story doesn't fucking interest me. It seems like horseshit to me. It's bullshit.
Is it calling back to the old God of Wars a lot? Because I think they were actually pretty story heavy.
I'm aware of the stories of those games. It's not in the same style of story. It's not presented in the same, or it's not presented through the same lens. It has a very different feeling. It's obvious it's not the same creative force shaping that story. It's definitely a father-son story about bonding, and which is great. It's fine. I have no objections to that. Like, Kratos can't be a dad, or I don't want to see parental bonding stories, because they're all fine. It's just the quality of this story is not all that good or interesting, and they really, really like twist your arm into paying attention to it frequently and in ways that impact gameplay, like moment to moment. So I don't know. It's all right.
It looks real pretty.
It looks very pretty. It legitimately does look great. Sony gets that right pretty much every time. They have really good engines and really good programmers and artists and all that. But I think some of the game is fundamentally sound. Like, these are all just sort of nitpicks, to be honest. I think the game is
I've
good.
seen a good bit of the gameplay, and it seemed slow, but intentionally.
It's slow, it's chunky. It's kind of like what you would have wanted Lords of the Fallen to be in terms of like pace, maybe a little faster, but it's got that chunky, deliberate, powerful feeling, which is
Souls-like, maybe.
Yeah, they definitely hard
I know the controls are
into
just
that
like
direction.
Dark Souls.
Yeah,
You've got like the quick attack and long attack and all that stuff.
they're so much like Dark Souls that sometimes it bothers me when I'll be trying to hit circle to dodge instead of
Wow.
cross, because it feels nearly identical, except that the lock-on is so much abysmally worse that I don't know who the fuck put it in the game, but they should be fired and never allowed to work again, because it doesn't even work. It works, but it doesn't work.
Right.
I don't really have much more to say about that. The puzzles, they suck. The puzzles in the game, they suck. They piss me off. Actually. Like, it's always just walking around. I don't know what else to say about it other than doing some bullshit. Like, the same bullshit. Shoot the 3 fleshy pods with your axe.
Yeah, I saw those.
Or break the 3 glowing pots with your axe. Or freeze the gear with your axe. And it's just a kind of dumb game on many levels, but also very fun. When you really get into the combat, it is a lot of fun, and it feels like a real challenge that you need to do better at to succeed at. So I think, like, at its core, it works and it's good. But there's a lot of bullshit that holds it back in a lot of important ways.
It feels like there's those games feel a need to slow things down between combat sections. Like, it's one of those kinds of games where it's like, here's the combat section, here's the puzzle section, and story usually on both sides of the puzzle section. And that's the formula. And that's a very old formula, like going all the way back to, like, God, I don't know. It's probably a lot, like, you could argue that some of the Zelda games are kind of like that, but they're a little bit less linear and formulaic in that way. But obviously there's tons of games that do that kind of thing. When I don't know that it's entirely necessary when you look at, and I apologize for this comparison, but it's obvious. When you look at a game like Dark Souls, where literally the only gameplay mechanic is combat. I mean, you've got RPG mechanics that you can do outside of combat that naturally slows things down a bit, but so does God of War. And you just, like, think about it. You go through every section of that game, and there's enemies throughout the entire section of the game. Some are easier than others. They're all very different. They're all interesting. And because of the nature of the game, you have to go through them a lot. And you don't necessarily... It can be frustrating to get through them, but I don't feel like I ever get really tired of going through them. The combat's always fun. And God of War, it seems like the combat's probably good enough that they don't need to separate it out that much. And it's not like you're having to do those encounters over and over again like you do in Dark Souls anyway. So I don't know why they feel the need. And I've seen a lot of the gameplay, so I know exactly what you're talking about with, like, all right, here's the section where you have to figure out how to get up the elevator by freezing the gear at the right point and all that stuff. And it's like, it's so obviously filler.
Yeah. And it's
feels
so
very dated.
Physically clunky too, where you'll know what you need to do. I need to throw my axe after lowering this platform to this height. But you walk up to the wheel that lowers the platform, and then you gotta wait for the animation for him to lock in the holding onto the wheel, and you gotta wait for the animation to play, and then when you want to throw the axe, you gotta wait another second, then he stops, then he takes out the axe, then he throws. It's just...
And after all that, you don't even get a...
You don't. I mean, that's the really biggest war crime this game commits. But it's like a 6 or a 7, I'd say. It's overall pretty good, but there's like a lot of problems.
Yeah. Sounds about what I would expect.
I've really haven't been playing that many more video games. I saw a shit ton of movies. You got anything to talk about on the video games department?
You know, I don't know that I do have anything to talk about.
Yeah, whatever. If we think of something, we'll talk about it, but whatever.
I did see at least one movie. I saw Truth or Dare.
Oh, how's that?
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. My girlfriend and I went in thinking this will be a fun, so bad it's good movie, and the theater will be empty and we can just sit there and laugh at it. Well, the theater was empty until like 2 minutes into the movie when three people come in and they sit directly behind us. And it's like, we were planning on just like talking it up through the whole movie and like that being the fun of it. And so then you get these people that just sit right behind you.
Were you guys the only ones there?
Yeah, except for those other people. And but it was still pretty fun to laugh at. I thought, judging by the trailers and what I knew from the film, that it would be self-aware, and I feel like it's a little less self-aware than I thought. I think it kind of plays it straight, and it's a dumb movie. It's really dumb. I enjoy those really stupid bad movies quite a bit, and I would say it's so bad it's good. It's not a must-see so bad it's good movie, but it lived up to expectations. It's really, really dumb.
Okay. I was gonna ask along what lines or of expectations did live up, but I guess that answers it.
No, I knew exactly what I was getting into. But again, I actually thought that it would, like, I thought I had this thing in my mind that like maybe it's kind of like a Scream movie or something where it's very self-aware and like that's the joke, but it's not. They literally are just like, here's a plot, here's a scary movie, and this here's a really stupid concept and bad actors, and it's just the movie, and there's no like, I mean there's jokes and stuff, but it doesn't make fun of itself at all. And there's some things in it where you're just like, what the fuck were they thinking when they were writing this movie? Like there's a very lengthy explanation about how to avoid, they need to message someone on Facebook that's a wanted criminal, and you're like, no, don't use your main account to DM them. You have to log into a burner account and DM them on that. And they go into this like lengthy explanation about what they need to do to avoid getting tracked online. And then later in the movie, the police catch them anyway, and there's no explanation for how. Even though they went through this lengthy explanation about how they're avoiding the police, it is totally bizarre. And that's the kind of shit that I like in those movies. But
movies
I
are.
honestly think that might be like one of the only movies that I've seen since we last talked. It's a really bad one.
Movies always start to veer toward hilariously awful whenever they start to make social media like a more central element of the movie.
That a lot too. The movie starts out and they're on a vacation, and it's the vacation. It's actually I actually kind of want to give them credit because the way that it's done is the concept is stupid, but they executed it really well. But the concept is, let's show these people's vacation through their Snapchats. Or like, it's not branded Snapchat, but like you can tell it's Snapchat, you know?
Any of
and
those like
selfies,
bits of your life montage.
Yeah, and so it's this big
apps.
montage of them on their vacation to like introduce them as characters and everything, and it was like,
was it like the intro to,
actually done well.
Was it like the intro to Far Cry 3?
Yes, that's exactly what I thought of when I saw it actually. But yeah, it's bad.
Sounds bad.
Yep. Did you see the Avengers?
I did. I saw all the latest meme movies. I saw Avengers,
Black Panther?
Black Panther, saw that one. I actually saw them on the same day with completely different people.
Like God's gift to cinema?
They're all right. They're fine.
Yeah.
Moving on. Another movie that was 2 hours and 40 minutes that I really liked was Silence. I saw Martin Scorsese's new movie, Silence.
Oh, I didn't even know Martin Scorsese had a new movie.
It was not really new. It was like late 2016, like December 2016-ish, I think. And I just saw it like yesterday. I really recommend that movie. I'm surprised I hadn't heard more about it, actually. Maybe it's the subject matter. It's about... I just realized my shirt's appropriate. It's about 17th century Portuguese Jesuits who are off on a mission to it's like 17th century Japan. They're not traveling in time, so naturally they'll be in the same century, to locate their former mentor and now apostate priest guy, and sort of confirm what happened, if he's still alive, if he really renounced the faith and all that. And the Jesuit superior over in Portugal is like really just not wanting these kids, and they're kids. It kind of reminded me of like war movies where they make a point to show you how young the people are. They do that they make a point to show you how young these missionary kids were back in these days. They're like maybe 18 or 20, like very young. And they go off to Japan. They sort of minister to some of the locals in secret. This is during a period of like heavy persecution there. And eventually it's about a real guy. It's about how one of the young missionaries eventually apostatizes when he's forced to, and what led him to that. And it's a good movie. It's a subtle movie. It's long also. It's nearly 3 hours long. But I think it's one of his better movies, to be honest. It's very well done. Enjoyed it.
Well, maybe I'll check that out. To juxtapose that, though.
To clash perpendicularly.
I thought of something else that I've seen recently.
What?
It's not a movie, but it's on a similar caliber to Truth or Dare. I've been watching Ghost Adventures.
I've seen some of these like
sequence
announcements from your Discord, like at everyone, the Ghost Adventures continue.
Yeah, because everyone's got to be in on the Ghost Adventures. It's very entertaining, for all the reasons that if you're familiar with Ghost Adventures, you already know. Zach Baggins is this this city boy, Jersey guy who's just like, he wants to fight all the ghosts. His whole idea, like, he claims that what he's doing is he's antagonizing the ghosts to try to get them to appear. Like, oh, if I'm mean to them and I yell at them and I threaten to fight them, then they'll appear. And every episode, there's an encounter with a ghost, which is amazing. I mean, God, the consistency is really.
It's really
impressive.
Nice that they're lucky enough that works out so well.
It works out every single time.
Yeah.
I actually will say.
Really nice on the budget too. It's like.
One of the endearing things about this show, though, I will say, is that it doesn't feel like, at the moment, and I know this goes on for like 16 seasons, and I'm like in season 4, so I'm still in their like young stage of show business. But at the moment, it doesn't feel like a cynical like scam show. It feels like they're deluding themselves into thinking that they're having encounters when there's a lot of perfectly reasonable other explanations.
So more legitimate crazy than cynical crazy at this stage.
Yeah, they're just like they get really excited, like really excited, and when you're in this like hyped up mood and you're in the dark room, you're gonna think there's a ghost. And
bro, did you see that,
bro? And God, it's really entertaining. And then they'll have like a recording, and they'll be like, listen back to this enhanced audio, and it's just a bunch of static, and then the static kind of changes for a few seconds, and they put a subtitle on there that's like, get out. And it's like, that's not what I heard.
It'll be like,
sure.
like white noise, and then and that's what they'll like they'll put in an entire phrase,
something like that. But they just make a sentence out of it, and you're like, all right. And yeah, it's really fun. There are some things that they come across where you're like, that feels like it either has to be faked or there's some kind of crazy, like I am just about 100% sure that ghosts aren't real. And so I come into this as someone looking at it as like, these people they're either tricking themselves or tricking the viewer. And there's a few things that happen in the show where you're like, like something weird happened there, and I don't understand if, like, maybe kids broke into the building and they're fucking with them because they heard they were in town, or something like that. They never present these alternate explanations, but you have to think about them, and some of them get kind of crazy. We're like, something weird happened.
What's an example
scamming.
of one that you don't think is easily explained?
There's one where they're walking around in a room, and you see it very clearly on camera. Like, I think it was like a broom or something, some long object, like, kind of gets hurled off camera towards one of them, and falls on the floor. And they're like, "Holy shit, what was that?" And they thought at first that they knocked it over or whatever, but then they rolled back the footage to like 30 seconds before, where they were walking around in another part of the room, and they saw it leaning up against a wall, but it wasn't at all in the kind of position that it would be where if you knocked it, it would like hurl across to a completely different part of the room. And so it's like either one of them is scamming us and threw the thing off camera, or something crazy happened. And I am about 100% sure that it wasn't a ghost, but I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. Definitely not a ghost. But I just, you watch enough of them, and maybe I'm naive, but I don't feel like they're scamming you. I don't feel like they're making shit up. They feel really legit, like really legit. And
that's always sort of like
psychopath.
an interesting line to have to draw, because
Yeah.
I think that's probably true of a lot of con artists, or especially like people who deal in like mystical stuff,
Snake oil
like
salesman and stuff.
like snake oil salesmen or psychics or tarot card readers. I don't think they really all believe that they're straight up lying, or even most of them. They have to, like, if you believe that it's real, then you can start justifying little leaps and
Yeah.
smoke and mirrors tricks, all in sort of like, you don't
And
think
maybe that's
about
it.
certain things too much, and you get excited about certain things and prioritize. There's
Yeah.
mental gymnastics you can do where you really aren't exercising any of your deception muscles while also lying.
Yeah.
So
I think
I
there
don't-
might be a little bit of that, but I don't think that they go as far as, like, here's the thing. Like, here's something that I thought of is, like, I'm trying to picture the room in my head while I'm watching them show where this thing was leaning up against the wall, and it's like, here's a possible explanation. They're exaggerating how impossible it is for this thing to fall in the way it did. Like, they're looking at the video and they're saying, well, that's in a place in the room that we weren't even nearby, and like there's a wall between us and it and all that stuff. But they don't do a good job of clearly explaining. Like, I don't have a good picture in my mind of exactly where that thing was. So maybe that's where the kind of unintentional lie comes in, is like, they're all hyped up about it. They think that they got attacked by a ghost, and so they're justifying to themselves, like basically lying to themselves, saying, well, there's no way that broom got from this part of the room to that part of the room. When really, if you just step back for a second, maybe there was a way for it to happen. And then later in editing, it's probably not them editing the show either. And so the editors would make sure not to make it look like it was possible, when really maybe there was some footage that made it look more possible than it actually was.
It seems like on a show like that, they're probably doing way more lying by omission than like actually making shit up.
Yeah. And so yeah, I while I kind of sort of trust them not to straight up lie to my face, I definitely don't trust editors not to. And so who knows what happens in post, but someone in chat asked, do I understand Mike Stacklasa now, because he did an episode of Half in the Bag where he talked about Zach Baggins' new movie,
and like
Demon House.
Nearly
Which
every
actually-
episode that comes up, he seems to talk about his love for the paranormal.
Exactly. He has an
ghosts
obsession with
and-
it. And that was actually, that episode came out like a couple of days after I started watching Ghost Adventures. It was funny, the timing of it. And
So
I've
you
always
liked them
understood-
before it was cool.
Yes. Yeah, I liked Ghost Adventures like about 2 months ago, and that was way before it was cool. But
Really early on the
yeah, I got in on it early. I got it in on like season 16.
ground
so-
floor. How much is your equity worth? Your Ghost Adventures equity.
But he's always had this obsession with the paranormal, but he also claims that he doesn't really. I guess Mike, I think, doesn't necessarily say he doesn't believe in ghosts, but he says he doesn't really buy into all the bullshit.
He believes in ghosts. Look at him.
I think he believes in ghosts, but I do believe him that he doesn't buy into. Like, there's a lot of bullshit on Ghost Adventures. My favorite thing that they do. Sorry, I'm gonna go on another quick tangent.
Fine.
My favorite thing that they do is they wear these. They stopped wearing the glasses, but they used to, in the first couple seasons they would wear these glasses connected to a little box, and they'd never give a lengthy explanation about how this is supposed to work. But they say the box has a database of words in it, and the ghosts can manipulate the energy, and the box is sensitive to manipulations in like the electromagnetic field or whatever, and the ghosts can manipulate the field, the energy, to choose a word in the database to appear on their little glasses. And so they'll be walking around, and it has like a little robot voice that says the word. They'll be walking around, and it'll be like, stairs. And they'll be like, oh, dude, it just said stairs, and there's stairs right over there. And I don't know, there's some scam artists selling this like merchandise to them. Like every few episodes. So here's another thing that I do.
Sounds legit to me. It's
you should join the Discord stuff, because when I do it in Discord, we play Ghost Bingo, Ghost Adventures Bingo.
Oh, do you have like a whole bingo card and everything?
I have a whole bingo board set up with things that tend to happen in their episodes, like Zach gets mad at a ghost, stuff like that, you know. And that's one of the ghost glasses themselves are not one of the things, but new ghost tech is. Because every few episodes they come up with some new device that is totally ridiculous. They don't give a very good explanation for it, and they just claim it works. And and sometimes it gets completely absurd. There was one episode I skipped ahead at first because I didn't think that I was going to just start watching them in sequence. So like later on in this, I don't know which season it is, but later on, a little further than I am, there's an episode where they create a ghost portal. They set up a Skype call with investigators at another haunted location, completely unrelated to the one that they're in. And they set up some sort of unexplained technology in like a pattern near the Skype call. And they're like, we're going to get a ghost to communicate from our location to their location. It's just convoluted.
That's called the internet.
Completely unexplained. Just
you don't need a ghost for that.
Yeah, it's all conjecture too. Like they'll just say things like, where you're like, how do you know that? Like they'll be like, oh well, it's said that presence of water is an enhancer for ghost activity. Or they don't say it that way though. They don't say they say that, or it is said that, or there's evidence of. They just say a presence of water is it affects ghosts somehow. And they just say it as fact, and they always do that. They always say stuff as fact. This is a fact that ghosts act this way, and we know that they do it this way, and we are sure of it, and we will repeat it to the camera multiple times that this is how ghosts act. We know it. We're investigators. We're scientists. And so I love that shit. And I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yeah, what I was going to say is I've always understood where Mike comes from when he says that he likes that paranormal stuff, even though he doesn't really buy into it. Because I've always watched like ghost hunting stuff all my life, and I've always been fascinated by it, and I've never believed in ghosts. It's just really fun to watch that stuff, and I love the locations they go into and stuff like that. But like, for some reason, it really entertains me, and it's just fun to watch. So yeah, you should join my Ghost Adventure viewing parties. I haven't had one.
I think I'll do that. Yeah, that sounds cool.
It is fun. Playing bingo is pretty fun too.
Are they all on YouTube? Do you have like a synchronized?
If you Google, quick hacker tip here.
Oh
if you
man,
Google Ghost Adventures S03E05. Ghost Adventures Season 3 Episode 5 is going to appear as a Daily Motion link at the very top of your Google search. And there will be like 3 different ones to choose from. So if you get a bad quality one, you can just choose another. And that is my trick. And then you copy and paste the link into SciTube, and it plays fine. And
is SciTube like a synchronized?
Yeah, surely you know SciTube, right?
Yeah, Watch Together or any of those things. I guess.
Yeah, you just paste the link and it'll play it, and there's a little chat box. It's fun. It's good stuff. And then I found a bingo site that makes you can do a custom bingo board. It doesn't like track people's scores. You don't have to like log into it.
Okay.
So it's the honor system, but but it randomizes it every time. But then there's one, there's the square in the middle that's the free square or whatever. And for that one, I have baggy pants, because Zach loves baggy cargo pants, and he wears them every episode.
What are you gonna do when he doesn't?
I might have to change the free space. I don't know. There's been a few where I've had to change them, where like I thought that they would do something every episode, and then it ended up not being all that common. Like they kept talking about Class A EVPs and how big of a deal it was, which I think Class A EVP means like clearly understood and intelligent or something like that. And like it's a response to a question and you could hear it clearly or something like that. And they kept saying Class A EVP. And it would be like, oh, it's a big deal. And so I put it on the board. And then they stopped talking about it for like 2 seasons, and now they're back to talking about it again. So I might have to put it back on the board. But I love Class A EVPs. I mean, that's it's like you'll hear like a demon. It'll be like a demon voice. It'll be really clear and scary.
I remember my first Class A EVP. Those were the days.
Those were the days.
I have to report on the vertical monitor meme. I have to say that the vertical monitor meme is now dead. It was like interesting to try, but I think ultimately it's just kind of stupid.
Wow.
If anyone disagrees, let me know, but I think it's kind of dumb. No, what was my problem with it is it just was odd to try to move your mouse across a vertical screen to a larger horizontal screen to a larger vertical screen. So it always, I don't know, it just sucked.
I dealt with that for a while because my second monitor was a smaller resolution.
Yeah.
A smaller monitor.
I've still got that going on, but it's not as bad.
Yeah, like you can't scroll across the top of your screen and it won't smoothly go to the other screen. Although like even, I'm trying that right now and my monitors are both 1080p and you still have to drag it down a little bit. I think that's by design, but it was more extreme when you have very different resolutions, so.
But this isn't the monitor podcast.
It's not a Ghost Adventures podcast either, but
no,
it might become that though.
Should be the Ghost Adventures podcast.
Ghost Adventures is great.
I've been watching some anime. My Hero Academia. I've seen more of it. I think I only saw like a couple episodes last show.
Fucking weeb.
It's really good. I caught up to it.
With the catchy intro song that I hear everywhere.
Now the intros fucking blow, man.
Oh.
The intros suck balls.
Okay.
Fuck. I hate them. They're terrible. But
wow.
It's got some good music, the show. I don't want to say too much about it, but it's kind of like any shonen or DBZ kind of. There's battling, they're getting more powerful. Yu Yu Hakusho, you kind of know what to expect. The difference is the pacing is very exceptionally good. It's always moving quickly as opposed to getting bogged down in like one battle over several episodes or something.
That can be the fun part though, where it's like
like
a big deal. It's like big characters come together finally and you see their battle and it takes 4 episodes.
I think better than that is when it can sustain itself over several seasons with like actually substantial story developments frequently. And that's what this show does very well. So I recommend that. It's good.
I remember when Bleach would come on Adult Swim, and
I miss Bleach. I never was on the Bleach train
or anything. Like I never watched it intentionally. It just came on, and so I would watch it because it was on, and I had nothing else to do. And I remember how slow moving it was because I'd miss episodes obviously because I wasn't like tuning in to watch it or anything. Yeah. So I'd see an episode, and then like I'd see 3 episodes later, and whatever was happening overall had not changed at all. They just moved from one location to another, and that was it. And it keeps going back and forth between like different characters in different locations, and nothing happens. And then and then I look it up, and it's like 250 episodes or something. And I'm like, oh, I see.
I watched Naruto when I was 12, and that's how that show was. Yeah. Like you tune in, miss a couple episodes. Next time you watch, they're in the exact same locations. They were probably in a flashback for the last 5 episodes or something dumb like that. So this is not that kind of show. I've also been watching a much dumber show called Westworld.
I have not seen season 2.
I've only seen the first episode of season 2. I don't want to judge it super harshly, but if you remember how retarded things got toward the ending of season 1, it's more that. So that's where the writing remains.
I watched season 1, and Westworld has some really smart stuff in it, some really good stuff. Anthony Hopkins is amazing, and spoiler alert, he's not going to be in the show anymore, so that's kind of sad. But yeah, the overall plot of that show got so stupid so quickly and moved in a direction so far away from where I thought that it should be that I basically lost all hope in that show after season 1, and I was like, well, that was fun, and I don't think I'll tune in to season 2. If I had HBO right now, I would, but I mean, it certainly isn't worth, like, you know, buying a month of HBO to catch up or anything like that. No. Maybe I'll do that when I do that for Game of Thrones, even though Game of Thrones is also incredibly stupid and bad. But at least Game of Thrones is more entertaining, I think. I don't know.
It is, and what Game of Thrones gets right most of the time is having good character pairings. It's a show scattered across many different locations, and they'll usually have there's characters who are like aligned together, like Daenerys and her fucking captains and shit. But
well, the last season of Game of Thrones started actually like shit started really happening, like even too fast, I would say. But like you could tell, like at some point they realized, oh, this is going too slow, and we fucked up some storylines here that we need to wrap up, and shit just started happening, and so now like they're at a point where it's like, okay, if they handle this right, the last season will be a lot of fun. But they had to kind of take a cleaver to the show a little bit, I think, to get it to a point where it was more reasonably.
I haven't seen any of this, but it sounds like a beautiful disaster.
I mean, it's not a disaster. It really isn't, actually. I've basically all the last couple seasons of Game of Thrones, it's been like, overall, I think it's all right, but there's some weird stuff, in particular storylines and stuff, where you're like, this is, like, they've really fucked this up, and so that continues to kind of be the tone of it, where it's like there's a few storylines where you're really into it and it's really good, and there's a few storylines where you're like, what are they doing with this, and why is this taking so long? And then there was one storyline that was like, wait, over the course of like 2 episodes, we just had like an entire revolution with entirely new characters that we just met, and they're already dead. And it's like, that should have been an entire season at least, and it was like 2 episodes, and not the focus of the 2 episodes, just a side story of the 2. So it's like, what the fuck is going on? But they still do a pretty good job with that show. It's still pretty good. But
okay, I don't want to be unfair to it, so I'll...
Yeah, Hat Hans in chat said
Hattori Hanzo.
The golden age of TV kind of sucks right now, and I kind of agree with that, because I don't think it's really the golden age of TV anymore. I really think like Mad Men and Breaking Bad and that stuff, when that stuff was on, that was the golden age. If they're still calling it the golden age right now, I don't know what's justifying that, because even the really good shows that people like a lot are pretty widely criticized for major things. Like Stranger Things season 1 came out and everyone was freaking out about how great it was, and then it ends on a cliffhanger, and season 2 I still haven't watched and probably never will, because I just heard like, oh, it's all right, and there's a season 3, and it's like, well, fuck this.
I think season 2 was good. It's worth watching if you liked it. It's dumber with one episode particularly, but
I was mad at season 1 for ending on a cliffhanger, because I wanted that to be done. I thought it was going to be just the one season and that was it. But
yeah, that's the thing. They sort of, and they said this in interviews, the creators of that show, that we're modeling it after like as if it's one long movie, like divided up into chapters, and
that's how season 1 felt.
Well, yeah, until like that cliffhanger ending, and it's like, well, yeah, you can have a movie, but usually movies don't end in cliffhangers. It's not a characteristic of a self-contained thing, at least. One thing that somebody said in the chat, I think it was Hattori, about Silence, why it might not have gotten recognized. Maybe it was missing like a better caliber actor for the main character. I think that was maybe the biggest part.
Did the actor not do a good job, or was the actor just not well known?
He was Andrew Garfield, so he's well known. Just kind of not like a lightning rod of charisma, you might say, which is kind of funny, because the other lead actor was Adam Driver, and I think he's good. He might have carried it better. And sorry to get sidetracked on this movie again, but one of the interesting things about the prep for it that Andrew Garfield did, I don't know if he's like a Catholic in real life or something, but he went through the Jesuit priests like preparations that they do, like the ritual ceremony. There's like a retreat that's very intense. I don't know what's all involved, but he did some like serious Jesuit shit. So I don't know, wasn't all that like memorable a performance maybe, but he does a good job. But shows, I think I agree with you. The golden age ended whenever like Mad Men ended. That ended after.
Yeah, I would say when
Bad,
Mad Men ended, around that time.
Yeah.
I mean, not that Mad Men was like so good that when Mad Men ended, the golden age had to end, but like even the shows that people liked a lot around that time were declining in quality. You know, when people were talking about the golden age of television, like halfway through towards the later seasons of Mad Men and Breaking Bad and stuff, that was when a lot of shows were coming out that people thought would be the golden age of television, like that would continue.
Yeah,
that would carry the torch.
The prestige TV meme.
House of Cards was not that show. People thought it was going to be, and then it was absolutely not that caliber of show. And then and even in retrospect, a lot like Breaking Bad, I thought was a great show. Towards the last couple seasons, it got a little silly for me, but it was still a pretty good show. But something like House of Cards just totally fell off very quickly, and you know, if people want to, like Westworld, when that first started airing, like just the first few episodes have so much potential that you think, oh, you know, this is the next big thing, and clearly the people in charge of it just did not. They don't have it. They don't have that. Whatever it takes, and I can't think of a single. I mean, I don't watch all that much TV really, but I can't think of a single thing that's like airing right now that I think is anywhere near early Breaking Bad or Mad Men. Like not even close.
Better Call Saul is the only one I know of.
Oh sure, Better Call Saul. Yeah, it feels like an extension from Mad Men in a lot of ways, but it's what was good about Mad Men. Really, that's what Better Call Saul is.
Or Breaking Bad.
That's a good point. That's a great one. But Netflix is putting out a lot of shitty stuff right now, and it looks like they have a ton of shitty stuff in the pipeline right now. And television as a medium, as far as like cable television, is dying. So
Netflix is making a stalker show, right? Is that
They're making a Witcher. They're making a Witcher.
Oh, was it The Witcher? I thought it was Stalker. Somebody's making a Stalker movie.
Stalker 2 was just announced, by the way.
I saw that. Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
2021. That's when we're announcing our games now. 3 years away from release, which we all know won't actually be the release year, because when is a game ever announced 3 years in advance?
They announced Death Stranding in 2016, and that's not coming out until at least 2021.
Yeah, someone shared the Stalker thing, and I found the old Persona 5 image that said 2014.
That was what, 3 years, 2.5 delayed. We're supposed to see Red Dead this year. What do you think of that?
Oh, I do think. First of all, I do think that's going to come out this year, and I'm excited for it. There's been a lot of the talk that I've seen about Red Dead 2 has been talking about how disappointed people were in Grand Theft Auto 5. I thought Grand Theft Auto 5 was fantastic. I enjoyed it a ton. I thought it was great. I don't think it has the best story in the world or anything, but like, it was a really fun game. I had a blast with it all the way through. I bought it again for PC, played it through all again, and had a blast with it again. The multiplayer is this really fucked up, like free-to-play model nightmare right now, but who cares? I don't know. You can actually still jump into the multiplayer, I think, and probably have some fun with it, but if you're like into the multiplayer, I'm sure it's a nightmare, but like that's not what I really care about in those kinds of games anyway. So yeah, people are weirdly negative right now about Rockstar games, and I'm totally excited for Red Dead 2. I think it's going to be great, and I thought Grand Theft Auto 5 was great.
And even to the folks who say GTA sucks because of the online Megalodon cash shop things, the fact that this is a new game requires them to sort of repropose their their cash money offerings.
Yeah,
They can't just
I wonder
like
what they'll do.
do exactly whatever GTA was and just do that again. And you know, you could say that no, you can't, because they could do something similar, but it's not like they can lift it like, oh yeah, you can call in a helicopter with this many bucks or get something on the store. Like, however it works, it will at the very least need to work slightly differently. It will be presented in front of players in the context of a new game. So it always will come down to they're going to have to offer it again. They'll have to sell it again. And to sell it, they're going to have to make it something people want. So it's...
I hope that you're right, and I hope that they totally change their way of thinking about it, because, and I do think it's possible. I don't know whether it's likely, but I think it's possible that they'll do that, because I think what Grand Theft Auto 5 right now is basically a mildly popular but not that popular free-to-play style currency. Yeah. You know, they're making a lot of money off of the whales right now, I think. I don't... That stuff's actually probably public, but I have no idea how much money they're making off of Grand Theft Auto 5, like, post-big release. But I imagine it's quite substantial just based off of the whales. But I also imagine, in comparison to how many games they sold, it's not all that popular. And so they might say, well, we need to do something to keep people, like a large number of people playing this. We want to be Fortnite. We don't want to be, you know, Candy Crush or whatever.
Oh, shit. What if that's what they do?
Battle Royale? Dude, hey, that's the game for it, right?
There's going to be Battle Royale mode. There will be.
I think there will be.
It's an open world game. Oh, man, there's going to be a Battle Royale mode.
I doubt they would focus on it. I doubt they would be like...
It'll be there. That's guaranteed.
It'll definitely be there.
Guaranteed.
In their defense, I think that's the game for
Print it.
Like, right? Like, that's the perfect Battle Royale template.
Sure.
Big open world.
That is true.
Gameplay.
That's where it would work. If you were to slap Battle Royale on any kind of game, this would be the kind.
That's what they did with when DayZ was going crazy. That's what the Grand Theft Auto San Andreas modders did. Is they made that San Andreas multiplayer mod. They made DayZ servers, and it was like San Andreas but with zombies, I guess, and multiplayer, and you could kill each other and stuff. I never played it or anything, but it's just an obvious. I'm actually kind of surprised now that we talk about it. I'm actually surprised that they haven't done that with Grand Theft Auto 5. Or maybe they have and nobody talks about it because it's not that popular. But
it would probably be like made. Or are you talking about modders or officially?
Officially, but then again, yeah, they don't have that many players in one server, do they? I think it's like 16 might be the max, so it doesn't really work all that well.
Yeah, I don't think they have that built out in the way they would need to.
I mean,
make
maybe
it feasible.
It might be too late to make it feasible with Red Dead as well if they're still doing like the 16-player cap, you know?
Maybe. With a new game, they could raise that.
They could, but it might be too late. I mean, this is late in development by the time the Battle Royale stuff.
Yeah, that's right. When did that stuff really take off? That would be like...
less than a year ago.
Sure. That's really not enough time to like drastically retool the player
like 6
load
months ago was when Battle Royale was starting to like really kick off. And only in the last few months really has it been this obvious thing where like, okay, everyone's going to try to get in on it because Fortnite is so ridiculously popular. But you know, if you're Cliffy B, you can make an entire Battle Royale game in like 3 months and then close your studio immediately after. So I guess there's always a way to try to milk that money.
Where there's a way to make shitty Battle Royale cash grab games.
Yeah.
God. That's about all I have. Do you have anything else? How's Sailing the Skies? Let's check in for a Sky update.
Well, I did a solo cross-country flight yesterday by myself. Went down.
Wow.
Like 50 miles away.
That's big.
56.3 miles away from my home airport. Did a touch and go and came back. It was fun. It was intimidating.
Not quite what I was thinking when you said cross-country, but
56 miles.
That's a long way.
It's a long way in a Cessna 152
by yourself.
That goes like 85 knots across the ground. So yeah, that's like a 2-hour flight with the vectoring, because Birmingham's a big airport, so you get vectored around a lot when you're landing if it's busy. So it extends your flight time out a lot because you sit there flying around waiting for the airliners to land so that you can putt in and land behind them. But yeah, there's a longer one that I'll do that'll be like it's like you have to go. I think you have to go like forgot what the actual limit is, but it's significantly further than that, and then you have to go to another airport and then back. And once I do that, I have to do some night flying, and I have to do a little bit. I have to do like an hour or two.
That sounds like it'll be intense. Have you flown at night yet?
Flying's, no, not. I haven't flown at night. No.
Okay.
But yeah, you have to do like 2 or 3 hours of that, and then I have to do a couple more hours, I think, of instrument time, where like you wear these glasses that block your vision from outside, so you can only see the instrument panel, and you try to just fly off of your instruments. Easier than it sounds. And then I'll be ready. Basically, I'll be studying for taking the tests and everything, and then an FAA examiner will have to come out and fly with me and do a checkout ride, and then I'll have a private pilot license, and then I'm on to getting an instrument rating, which takes like twice as long. But then you can fly through weather.
Oh.
Yeah, you can fly through clouds and all that stuff. If you have, it's called IFR. It's a totally different way of flying. You're flying completely off your instruments, and you're flying across like routes, you know, in the sky.
Damn.
Like they'll tell you like go from this checkpoint to this checkpoint to this checkpoint to this checkpoint, and air traffic control watches you on radar, and you have to be very specific with it and all that stuff. When I'm flying from this airport to this airport, I can do whatever I want. I can just putt around up there, and there really is no major limitations if the airspace isn't controlled. So, but when you're IFR, you have to stay on your path. So very different, but it takes a lot of training because there's a lot of shit to know. It gets complicated, but yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, sounds like you come a long way.
Yeah, I actually wanted the progress to be quicker than this. I've been a little bit limited by I've been taking some personal trips, which is why we haven't been able to do the podcast. And then a couple of the planes at the school have been down, and they've only really got a couple that you can use, and so that's not very convenient. And then my instructor's been a little bit busy, and so like I haven't been able to get nearly as much time. I really wanted to go like not necessarily to progress 3 times as quickly as this, but I wanted at least that much flight time.
You wanted to be done by hours. Now, maybe.
I wanted to be. I'm at like 30, a little over 30 hours right now. I wanted to be at that amount of flight time quite a while ago. I wouldn't necessarily be as close to the check ride as I am now, because in that time where I haven't been flying, I've been doing a lot of studying and all that stuff. But flight time wise, I wanted to be a lot further than I am now. So it's been a little slower than I wanted. When it comes to instrument, I'm gonna try to really like I'm talking to someone who owns a plane, or they're gonna potentially buy a plane. So I'm thinking about like making a deal with them where I can fly the plane for whatever cost, and then I'll have another option of something to fly when I'm doing my instrument rating and all that stuff. So I'm getting serious about it. Got to. It's fun. Can't rush greatness. Yeah. Well,
guys,
got a little bit of ways to go.
Next time you see us, Skippy will be great again. Make Skippy great again.
I'm gonna start making videos again, everyone. I'm gonna start releasing video. Not really.
Never. Daily content.
Never again. Well, maybe. I don't know. I do like making the year interviews, but then I never did the one.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I don't know, man. I have so much less time than I used to.
I'm still not going to use the time excuse. Like, I'm not flying all that much. I've got plenty of free time, but it's not. Flying is the only thing that occupies my thoughts right now, and the idea of going as deep into something as you need to when you're making a video is like crazy to me. Like, I'm not going to like split my mind like that. I can only focus on one thing at a time, really.
Yeah, you can't be thinking about drinking Slurp juice while piloting your plane into a building.
Mm-hmm.
Can't have that. Guys, thank you for tuning in. No, I haven't heard of Baltimore comedian Tom Myers, but he sounds like a real hoot. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.